Hey everybody, this is Hoang, and today we have another episode of Eyes on the Meta. Do keep in mind, once again, that this video is not to show you what is the meta within the Japanese format, but rather it is to highlight the many interesting decks that have appeared within the format. So, to kick us off, we have a really interesting deck actually. It is Malo Myotismon Purple. So, Malo Myotismon is a card that came out in the 1.5 set for the English players. And the really big thing about Malo Myotismon is that it's a tad slow, so it felt really clunky to play in previous formats. However, we can see that Malo Myotismon is showing up once again in the BT5 format in tangent with Omnimon Zwart. Using Omnimon Zwart, you're able to revive Arukenimon and Mummymon, which then allows you to summon another Malo Myotismon, which is a really big thing. I don't think this deck will take off in the meta anytime soon, but it's a really cool interaction and something that I think deserves a little bit of attention, right? Going on next, we have Reboot Black. It fully hinges on the reboot function of Black with the Guruman as well as the Black Metal Guruman. And it has cards such as the Black Mach Galgamon and Gogmamon to also give a little bit of push as well as a more mid-game power. Reboot Black is really interesting because it means that decks like Crusadermon or decks like Shoutmon cannot swing into it as easily unless you have Zeke Greymon, obviously. But it's pretty cool to see Guruman get more play. Guruman also gets a lot of value against decks like Crusadermon or decks like Green, where they have such a wide board. So generally, you can rip something off the top, like a Gogma or a Metal Greymon, or even, once again, the Black Mach Galgamon, who have really good value. Going in next, we see Hex Blauman topping once again. Hex Blauman is a really interesting deck as it can potentially stun lock an entire opponent's board, really potent against Crusader who wants to set up really wide. Albeit Crusader can also out Hex Blauman really easily. But do keep in mind, this one's actually really interesting because it plays Neptunemon. Neptunemon, for those of you that don't know, is one of the Olympus 12, which is a very famous group within the Digimon lore. And a lot of people are disappointed about Neptunemon's rarity and his ability in the game. But I think Neptunemon actually has an interesting role within the blue lineup. Neptunemon not only is a 2-cost evolution, which means he is on par with cards such as Plesiomon or Phoenixmon, but he cannot be attacked. Being unable to be targeted as an attack means he is immune to both Chaosmon with Darkdramon arm, he is immune to Crusadermon swing, and he's also immune to Shoutmon, even with Zeke Greymon underneath. So this means that Neptunemon being untouched means that you can go into your level 7, or Omnimon X, who is essentially a level 8, right? Relatively free. He also plays a lot of removal, which is something that Source Strip was missing, so he plays double Kokaidos and double Absolute Blast. So, really interesting adaptation for the Hexblau list. As well as 4 Vidramon 0, I would assume this is to give him extra draw power, and we also see that he runs Beowulfmon. Beowulfmon is jamming, and Beowulfmon does not get the ability to go untargeted in this list, as he does not run hybrids. So it's really interesting to see why he runs this. I would presume it's just because for the extra jamming. So you can swing Beowulfmon and then Digivolve into Neptunemon. And then since you've Digivolved into Neptunemon now, you can't be targeted for your attack. So you've essentially fulfilled Beowulfmon's non-targeting ability. Moving on next, we see Nokia Greymon. As we pointed out before, Nokia Greymon is really explosive. It has a lot of potential to do damage in a single turn, as we see with Starter Deck War Greymon, who can do up to 4 damage with the ST Greymon underneath, and using Nokia and Marcus to reduce his cost, so you can potentially make him a 2-cost actually, which is really huge. This deck overall is a really high ceiling. It's not as consistent as the Shoutmon list because you have more searchers in the form of Shoutmon, as well as the Agumon if you wish, to keep that in mind. But the ceiling is really high in this deck, and you can easily steal games. Blitz Greymon becomes a 3-cost evolution, which is super huge for him as well. We see the impact of Blitz Greymon being a 3-cost with the addition of BT2 Biomon, who gives you an additional memory. So imagine doing that, but with like less setup, right? It's just one and done. So really good stuff. Now we have Crusader War Greymon. Now, previously, I was under the belief that Crusader War Greymon was not a good deck, because the thing about Crusader War is that they want to play different level 5s, and so you spread yourself a little too thin as they want to do different approaches and whatnot. However, with the introduction of OTK Green in the meta that we covered last week, where you use Grand Kuagumon promo to increase your security attack significantly, and then do all of your opponent's security in one go, if you were to destroy that stack with Crusader, right, clap them back as one would say, then you leave yourself susceptible to Nidhogg because Crusader has to rest itself. With War Greymon, however, War Greymon leaves itself standing rather, right after it uses its ability to restand, which is really significant because this means Nidhogg can no longer clear it as easily. And so I think this is an interesting adaptation, running the War Greymon to counter the OTK Green. So keep that in mind. It's not as consistent as pure Crusader because once again they want to run different level 5s. Like the Rise Draymond here doesn't do too much for Crusader, right? It lets you play a free TK and that's really it. You don't have your 2-cost vanillas, which are really powerful. And do note that he only plays the 1 Blinding and he plays 1 Spiral Masquerade. I'm not sure how I feel about that, as I would have personally rather play at least 2 Blinding, right? So really interesting take. Now we have Guruman Blue. As we've covered before, if you notice, it also runs Neptunemon because Neptunemon is really safe way to go into your level 7s because it can't get hit. He runs the Z Garurumon, which is access on Digivolve removal. He adds the Metal Garurumon that calls, and he also runs the Metal Garurumon that removes cards with on destruction effects. I don't think there's enough on destruction cards in the meta to really warrant this. However, it's most likely because the fact that it's a Guruman, and also it has an extra source skill, which is pretty handy since you're going into your level 7. I don't entirely remember what the source skill for the Metal Guruman was. Let me take a peek real quick. What Metal Gururu, right? So that Metal Guruman's, it's when you attack, you gain a memory, right? So that's actually pretty handy. Overall, Guruman deck is really interesting. I hasn't seen a lot of results, but the ceiling is, if not as same as Draymond Nokia, but within the same ballpark as Nokia's, cost reduction is really powerful. Now, we see Shine Draymond once again making his reappearance in the BT5 format. However, this time he's accompanied with Sakuyamon. Sakuyamon is a fan favorite Digimon, that is the mega level of Renamon. He plays a really interesting level 4 lineup, and do note that he has to take into account the tamer ratio, and so he plays a lot of tamers. Like 12 tamers is a lot, right? So his ratios are really interesting. I think what Sakuyamon brings to the table is that it makes it so your opponent has to essentially wait out an extra turn. Hiding and raising is a really powerful tool this format, as it means you are not going to lose your stack to, say, Shine Draymond or Glorious Burst. And Sakuyamon punishes that strategy, as it says, hey, you don't get to immediately swing on your turn, right? So this is really powerful against strategies like OTK Green, for example. It's really strong against Red, for example, as well. So do keep this in mind. Shine Greymon is a really good card overall. While it may not be as powerful as Crusader, it is still super good. It's really grindy, so do keep that in mind. Now we see Crusadermon once again. However, this Crusadermon is a bit more interesting. So the interesting part about this Crusadermon is that it plays Goldramon. Now, Goldramon is a blue level 6, and if you wonder how do you go into Goldramon, well, it plays Shakomon. Shakomon is a blue-yellow Digimon, so you can go into Goldramon. So what does Goldramon bring to this deck that other level 6s don't? Goldramon, for those of you who don't know, is once per turn, when you play a Digimon, you can restand this Digimon. So if you have Crusader stack in one, and then you have a Goldramon stack in the other, and Crusadermon is one of those decks that you can get a level 6 out relatively quickly because you can call a Nightmon and then you can go Goldramon off of that. But how it works is that you can swing Goldramon and then swing Crusader, and the Crusader ability to call whatever you want, and then you immediately restand the Goldramon. That's some insane big brain stuff, right? Like, Goldramon is one of those really interesting cards that a lot of people were excited for and then were let down when it was initially revealed. But as we can see, a lot of really cool potential right here. And then it also runs Omnimon. I believe this is the Blitz Omnimon, as it can attack off the Goldramon. So you can go swing, swing, and then Omni Blitz, and then that's 3 damage right there. It's crazy, right? Going north, Rookie Rush. However, it is not your average blue-green Rookie Rush. Rather, it is green-yellow Rookie Rush. So, what does green-yellow Rookie Rush bring to the table? Well, first of all, it brings Bushi Agu. Bushi Agu is a really powerful card, as it has haste, essentially, right? Or the blitz mechanic. Oh, what is it? Haste? Blitz? Yeah, I think it's haste. So Bushiagu is really good in that sense because he is able to attack on the same turn, and you run the 4 Blinding Lights. So what does yellow bring to the table that blue does not normally? Well, first of all, Spiral Masquerade, right? Spiral Masquerade, for those of you who don't know, it's, I believe, -3 or -4. Let me double check on that, right? It's Spiral Masquerade, it's, yeah, -3. So Spiral Masquerade is -3k DP for every body that you have on your board, and you can distribute this similar to Shine Greymon, and you're playing Rookie Rush, right? It also works in security, by the way, so that's super huge. So you just flood your board, and then Spiral Masquerade is going to clear a lot of stuff. You also get an additional 5k 2-drop in the form of Falcomon, so that's also really cool. So the difference between blue-green and yellow-green, yellow-green, is that yellow-green has more removal than blue-green, right? Because form of Spiral Masquerade. That's something that blue-green was lacking because you didn't have an out to Hex Blauman. Well, now you do have an out to Hex in the form of Spiral. So overall, the meta is taking to be really interesting once again. Obviously, overall, the meta is like decks like Crusader, Rafflesia, OTK Green, Shout, etc. Right? Obviously, the decks that we expected. But as you can see, these were the lists that I personally found interesting, right? There's a lot more interesting lists to be had. BT5 meta is really explosive, it's really dynamic, and there's so many different ways you can approach the game. So once again, thank you guys for watching, and I really hope you found this entertaining at the very least. So take it easy and make sure that you like, comment, subscribe, and whatnot. So thanks.